Yes, Veena ma'am. Veena ma'am.
Good evening to all. Am I audible, sir? Hello?
You are audible.
Okay,
You are
sir.
audible.
Okay. So, good evening to all. I deem it a great pleasure to welcome today's resource person, Dr. M. Saravanan, sir, to deliver his lecture. And with the brief introduction of him, I introduce him. He completed his UG and PG degree in mathematics in Ayanadar Janaki Ammal College, Sivahasi, and he completed his PhD degree in Madurai Kamaraj University under the guidance of Dr. K. M. Kadiresan, sir, Ayanadar Janaki Ammal College, Sivahasi, and he passed the CSIR exam with JRF with a very good ranking in the year 2009 as well as in 2017. In 2009, he got JRF of 49th rank, and in 2017, 146th rank. And he also achieved the GATE exam and got a rank of 160th rank. And also, he achieved NBHM scholarship. And his area of specialization is spectral graph theory. And he published papers in national and international journals. And with this few introduction, I invite him to deliver the lecture for today. Welcome, Saravanan, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your introduction. Good evening to all. First of all, I express my sincere thanks to Web Coast Lang Engineering College, head of the Department of Mathematics, and organizers for giving me this opportunity to act as research person for the series of talks regarding problem solving skills in mathematics for competitive examinations like CSIR, GATE, right? Okay, so what topic we are going to see in this lecture? I'm about to take 4 or 5 hours in this series, and we are going to cover some topics on probability and statistics. Okay, let me clear some points. So in brochure, some contents were there, but actually here I want to cover these topics. Please let me show you. Is the presentation is visible?
Yes,
Sir.
sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
sir,
thank
it's
you.
visible.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So here we are going to see these topics in probability and statistics, namely basics. First of all, we cover some basics in today's lecture, some introduction for probability and statistics, then random variables, standard distributions, central limit theorem and weak law of large numbers, order statistics, Markov chain, theory of estimation, sampling theory, design of experiments. Actually, in brochure, we have given only in these two topics, but only these two. If you study these two topics, then that will not be on par with the questions on competitive examinations. Actually, I think in GATE examination presently we exclude probability and statistics. I think because last year I didn't see any questions on probability and statistics. But in still in CSIR examination we have probability and statistics. That's unit 4, right? In unit 4 we have this, and we are all belonging to. I think we are all belonging to pure mathematics department. So mostly we people try to attempt questions on first 3 units. Is in first 2 units in particular, in first 2 units, unit 1 and unit 2, and unit 3 is applied mathematics. Unit 4 is mathematical statistics. But if you study questions on unit 4 also, then that will be very helpful to you. So many easy and important questions are there. For example, I just give you in last year 2019 also, in many times in CSIR examination we see problems on uniform continuity, right? They will give you some examples. For example, like this one, 1 by x, x squared on r, 1 by x on open 0 comma 1, like that. They will give you some 4 options. Among those 4 options, you need to identify which functions are uniformly continuous and which are not, isn't it? Actually, if you have the knowledge on uniformly continuity, then you can easily answer this question, right? Immediately you can answer this question within fraction of second. At first look, you can find the answer for this question. So it will be very helpful to you in saving your time, right? Then you can spend the saved time in some other question, isn't it? Like that in probability and statistics also, so many questions are there. Always, whenever I attend CSIR examination, I always, at least I attend 1 or 2 questions in probability statistics. Mostly very basic questions are there. And we are not going to see only very, very basic questions, but also we are going to see some advanced type of questions also. But you need to understand the basics behind them. If you understand the basics behind them, important results behind them, then you can answer those questions. Without studying them, we cannot answer those questions, right? So we are going to see those questions in further talks. And today, just we are going to see basics, right? Basics, because one more important difference between this subject and other topics are, other subjects are, we always don't give much time, much space in our curriculum and syllabus, isn't it? I think in my experience, I have studied probability and statistics as a single paper in UG, and in PG, I have studied only 1 paper on probability and statistics and some higher secondary knowledge. That's all. I didn't study much. So also, I have studied those paper not for the sake of understanding, only for the sake of marks. In my student period, I studied them only for the sake of marks. So I didn't study much about them. After my graduation, after becoming lecturer, after becoming assistant professor, only when I was teaching those subject to my students, I felt very difficulties. That's why then only I have started to study about them. And for competitive examination also, I tried some competitive exam questions also. Then I became very much clear on that. Not very much clear. Okay, it's I can solve many of CSIR questions, right? So even if I make mistakes, so one more important point is don't hesitate to stop me. Feel free. Whenever you have doubts or any clarification or suggestions, you can stop me, right? At any point, you can stop me and ask your doubts. Then we can move forward, right? Also, if I make any mistakes because I didn't see any key, so I try and I give you, right? It is not problem solving videos, isn't it? We are going to give you some, we are going to share some knowledge. It is workshop, right? It is workshop. We are going to share our knowledge. So it is sharing knowledge is also always, it's a two-way process, right? So when only by teaching, I studied a lot, I learned a lot. So here also, I hope I can learn a lot from you. So you people, please ask your doubts, tell me your suggestions, everything, right? Okay. So these topics we are going to see, right? These topics we are going to see in our probability and statistics lecture series. About 4 talks and 5 talks I am going to take. I will on every class I will introduce what it is, right? So today we just recollect basics, right? So for many of the people, as I mentioned earlier, for many of the people's the knowledge on probability and statistics is much lesser than the knowledge on algebra analysis kind of subjects, right? Because algebra analysis in second year, even UG second year, we have studied elements of basic real analysis. Then third year, we have studied real analysis, complex analysis, and modern algebra, linear algebra. Then in MSc, once again, we studied everything. Then we studied topology, function analysis, everything. Always we recall the basics of convergence, basics of continuity, basics of uniform continuity, everything. Sequence, convergence, everything we recall again and again and again. So we have much knowledge on those subjects comparing to these, right? So let me recall what we have studied in our higher secondary first. Okay. For some of the students, that will be very elementary, but for some of the participants, it is needed, right? So here the references are, I take these books. Actually, Hakan Greg is a very good book for the sake of understanding in mathematical statistics, for theory of probability, everything. And here other 3 books are good for problem solving, right? So many problems are there in these 3 books. Also, so many problems are asked from these books for competitive examination, in particular for GATE examination. GATE, you can see probability and statistics questions not only in mathematics branch, but also you can see probability and statistics question for lot of GATE examination for engineering subjects also, ECE, EEE, everything. Because for all the students, mathematics is very essential. For all engineering students, mathematics is very essential. In particular, statistics is very essential. So in GATE examination, they give much space for competitive examination. So here, the number of questions is, we have plenty of questions. In competitive examination, in GATE examination, we have plenty of questions on mathematical statistics. But those questions, mostly, they are taken from these books or the model, you can just see the model of those questions in these books, right? So these 3 books, first book, second book, and fourth book, will help you to understand, to collect a lot of examples, worked out problems like that. And this one, third one, will help you to understand the concepts behind them, right? So for all the 4 books are very important. Please note it down. And one more thing about our probability and statistics is here it is unlike pure mathematics. Here the definition is very book to book, it will vary. The definition itself vary. For example, some books, some distribution will be defined on 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Domain of some function will be, actually distribution means it's a function, right? Distribution means it is a function. So the function, the domain of that function will be like this, 0, 1, 2 something. But for the same definition, for the same distribution, in some other book, they will define like this, 1, 2, etc. So once the definition is changed, all the parameters will be changed, right? So once you study, whenever you study more than one book, you should be very careful with the conventions, notations, definitions of that particular book. So always very clear about that. Always go for that, because so many difficulties will come when you follow these different books, right? Only through examples I can explain them. When we see standard distribution, I will tell you the difference between them. Okay, tell you the difference between books. Even the definition will different. Okay. Okay. First, let me start with a very elementary, very elementary problem. What you have studied in our higher secondary. Wait a minute. So, what is the answer for the first question? Any one of you? Here, for many of the questions, I didn't write the answer. I hope you people can find and tell me, so that the session will be interactive. So what is the answer for the first question? What is mean? You can unmute and you can answer. What is mean?
Sum
How
of
to
the
find mean?
datas divided by number of the datas.
Very good. Very good. So mean is nothing but average. So average means sum of the data divided by number of data. So here you will get some answer, right? Here you will get some answer. I'm not going to write that answer. It is your part, right? So find the answer. Okay. Then here once again another data is there, right? Here we are finding mean of particular student in his examinations on 5 subjects. Then we find on a particular exam, we find the mean marks of 15 students. So here, how will you write? How will you find? Is there any shortcut than the previous one? In the same way, you are going to add 12 plus 30 plus 23. In the same way, you will add, or is there any other way? Is there any other shortcut?
Yes, there is another shortcut.
What is that shortcut?
Here 34 is repeated.
Very good.
34
is 3 times.
And
therefore,
22
we can,
repeated 4 times. Finding frequency.
22 is repeated 4 times. Am I right?
4 times.
So
23
we call
repeated
this
2 times. Sorry,
okay,
3 times.
Okay, very good. So here we collect these data like this, right? So we form a grouped data from this raw data, right? This raw collection of data, we find some grouped data. From this grouped data, we can find the mean. So how will we find the mean? We just multiply the corresponding points and we divide it by
Summation of Fi.
Very good. Summation of Fi, right? It's a very basic thing, isn't it? In our school itself, we have completed it. So this summation of Fi will give you the number of items, right? Actually, this concept, you may think it is a very elementary concept, but actually this is the concept which lies in the difference of Riemann integration and Lebesgue integration. There is some good book on analysis you see written by Buck. I forgot the name of the book, Buck. So in that, the author gave one example, right? One imaginary example. A table is there. In that table, so many coins are there. 5 rupee coins are there. 20 rupees coins are there. 50 rupees coins are there. 10 rupees coins are there. Lot of coins are there. and Riemann and Lebesgue both are in the table, right? They now they are supposed to count the coins. Now, how Riemann counting the coin is, he count first one 5 rupees, then again 5 rupees, then 10 rupees, again 5 rupees, again 20 rupees. In this manner, he counting the coins. But Lebesgue counting in different manner, like this. He grouped the coins, 5 rupee coins. How many 5 rupee coins are there? For example, say 25 5 rupee coins means he will multiply by 25 plus how many 20 rupees coins? Say 20, then 20 into 20. Like that, he is adding and find the answer. You know, both the answers will be same, isn't it? But it is what the difference between Riemann integration and Lebesgue integration. So in Lebesgue integration, we find the range value, and range value is multiplied by corresponding measure of the pre-image set, right? Corresponding measure of the pre-image set. How many coins attain 5 value? How many coins attain 5 value? It is 25. Actually, this 25 is counting measure. This is called counting measure, right? So many measures are there. In measure theory, we have different measures. One among them is counting measure. So counting measure is usually, we study them in finite sets, right? Finite sets. So if you have a set, then the number of elements is known as counting measure. So what is counting measure here? So 25 is counting measure for the pre-image of 5. So he considers this as a function, right? He considers this as a function f, and f assumes different values on different points, right? F assumes different values on different points. For example, here in the first point it assumes 5. In the second point it assumes 5. In the third point it assumes 10. In the fourth point it assumes 5. In the fifth point it assumes 20. It assumes like this. Now he collect for one, how many pre-images are there? How many pre-images are there? For those pre-image, he find the counting measure, so that he attain this limit. So this is what the definition. This is what the definition of. This is what the difference between Lebesgue integration and Riemann integration. Why I am telling in probability and statistics means, here also probability is very much close. It's closely related with measure theory. So later I will show you the relation between measure theory and the probability also, right? So in terms of, so here what we are doing is simply we find the counting probability. So here also, so once again come to our own example. So here what we are doing is we find the images 12. So here 20. So for example, here 34 is 3 times repeated, right? 34 is 3 times repeated. 22 is 4 times repeated. So there is a difference between previous data and this data. In the previous data, all the data, each data is equivalent to another data. They are all have same weightage. But in the later problem, here they are having different weightage. Due to this different weightage, we assign probability. This different weightage is actually represented by probability. How we assign probability? Now what is summation fi? The summation fi is nothing but total number of items. So total number of items is 15, right? So here I just simply divide it by 15. So here it is 15. So how many values are there? I will find the corresponding number of times, number of repetitions, and I will divide it by total number of marks. So that will give you the probability of occurrence of 34. So this is how we move to probability, concept of probability. So here 34, in the previous here every data have equal probability. 24, 23, 42, 36, 40, everything has equal probability. So this data can be written like this: 24, 23, 42, 36, 40, everything have equal probability. So it is 1 by 5, 1 by 5, 1 by 5, 1 by 5. So what is your when a PDF is given? I assume you people know something on probability and statistics. So I hope you people, all of you people know what is PDF. So here it is like a PDF, right? It is like it is probability distribution. 24 has probability 1 by 5. Occurrence of 23 has probability 1 by 5. 42 1 by 5. 36 1 by 5. 40 1 by 5. So what will be the mean? What will be the expectation? Expectation means the point value into times the probability of that corresponding point. So 24 into 1 by 5 plus 23 into 1 by 5 plus 42 into 1 by 5, everything. So you will get E of x. So what is literally E of x? E of x is nothing but mean of the data. So this is how from the raw data, in basic statistics, from basic statistics, we move to probabilistic statistics, right? So that's why we need to study first of all probability, right? So here uniformly distributed. The first data is known as uniformly distributed. So whenever all the points have equal probability, I say the points are, the elements are uniformly distributed. But in the second problem, the values have different probability. So they are not equal. They are not equally likely. That is called equally likely. There are a lot of terms are there. I cannot explain each term one by one because it will consume more time. So I just want to introduce these terms. So what is experiment? Experiment means it is a process for which we have some outcome. Everything you can consider as experiment. Even cooking is an experiment, right? Even cooking is experiment. Lot of process are there. Whenever you feel working is experiment because you are getting salary, isn't it? Some outcomes are there for that process. So it is experiment. So in general, experiments can be classified into two types. One is deterministic experiment. Next one is probabilistic experiment. So deterministic experiment means it is like the scientific experiment. For example, it is like a law between pressure and volume, like that. So you can expect something by theoretically it should happen, right? By theoretically it should happen. You can crystal clearly, you can say what will be the outcome. But in probabilistic experiment means you cannot say. For example, rolling a die. A basic example is rolling a die. You take a die and you roll it. You cannot surely say this is going to happen. If you say, then the die is not a good one. It is a biased one, right? It is not an unbiased one, right? So here, whenever you do some experiment and you cannot predict the outcome, so many possible outcomes are there. We are going to study those experiments only in our theory, and those experiments are called probabilistic experiments. And outcome, so when what will be the output of that experiment is known as outcome, and those outcomes are collected as sets, and I call those sets as events. Then all possible outcomes, so sample space is very important. All possible outcomes, if you collect all possible outcomes as a single set, all possible, you should not miss any single outcome. You should for that experiment you should collect all the possible outcomes. Then that set is known as sample space. And next one is independent events. Independent events means one, you are doing some experiment. For example, in one hand you are tossing a coin and another hand you are rolling a die. Now the head or tail occurred in tossing coin will not affect the value occurred in the die, isn't it? So those kind of events are known as independent events, right? So I'm not telling you literal definitions, but I hope you people know it. But if you have any difficulties, you can stop me, right? So these are some famous experiments always in our books, in our any probability and statistics books. You can see these experiments. Most of the times we see them: tossing coin, rolling dice, playing cards, and balls in hand, right? So here are some examples are there. You throw a die. So what will be your outcome? 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, right? So you toss a coin. What will be your outcome? Head or tail, right? So it is called exhaustive event. It is called exhaustive event. When we say two events as exhaustive, not only two events, you have some n events, right? You have n events, and for those events, if the union is equal to the sample space means whole event, right? All possible outcomes, right? If you take some n events and their union is equal to capital S, then you say the events are exhaustive, right? So here you toss a single coin, so only two outcomes are possible, either head or tail. So if you take head and tail as a single event, so this is these two events. So these two events, it is sample space, and these two events are exhaustive events, right? In set theoretic notion, we can write like this. And similarly, drawing two cards, throwing of two dice. So if you throw two dice, how many outcomes are there? If you throw two dice, how many outcomes are there?
36.
How many? Yeah, 36, right? 30. So, but here I want to ask tricky question, not tricky question. It's a wrong question, right? So here, look at this example, fourth one. In throwing of two dice, the number of cases favorable to getting the sum 5, right? Getting the sum 5. Now I told you about experiment and outcome, everything, right? So here I just want to, I want to find the answer for this question like this. So here, what should be the final outcome? Getting the sum 5. So if you throw 2 dice, what are the possible outcome of sum values, sum of the points? What are the possible outcomes? Sum of the points.
2 to 12.
Yeah, very good. 2 to 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. 12, right? So now I need 4, right? Sorry, I need 5, right? I need 5. The outcome should be 5. So 5 is my favorable outcome, right? 5 is my favorable outcome, right? So what will be the probability? So here, what are the possible outcomes? 2, 3, 4, etc. 12. So 5 is my required outcome, my favorable outcome. Therefore, it is only one outcome. This 5 will be here, right? This 5 will be here. So this is my favorable outcome. These are possible outcomes. So I say the probability of getting 5, is equal to 1 over 11. Am I right? Because in previous slide, I told you like this. We do some experiment and we get some outcomes, right? So in those outcomes, we see what are the favorable outcomes and what is probability means. Probability is nothing but number of favorable outcomes divided by number of possible outcomes. In later slides, we are going to see them. But here itself, I can ask this question because all of you are aware about that definition. So here itself, I ask this question. Am I right? Is this answer is correct? P of 5, probability of getting 5 equal to 1 by 11. Is it correct?
No, sir. Answer should be 1 by 9.
Answer should be
4
1
by
by 9.
36.
Yeah, 4 by 36.
Yes,
Why?
that is 1 by
1 by 9. Okay, why? Then what is the flaw in my argument? Here also I collect all the possible outcomes, isn't it? Here also I collect all the possible outcomes and I collect favorable outcome. Only one favorable outcome is there and 11 possible outcomes are there. Therefore, the probability should be 1 by 11, isn't it? Why with the different arguments we get different answers?
Sir, because the sums are not equally likely.
Yeah, very good. Equally likely. That's very important. Here, as I mentioned earlier, the weightage is very important. Weightage is very important. That's why I gave you this example. In this example, I told you. So here, all the points are equally likely. But here, the points are not equally likely, isn't it? So this is what the difference between this. So here, this 2 is caused by the outcome. Which outcome? When 2 will be there? When 2 will be our sum? Yeah, 1, 1. 1, 1 will cause 2, isn't it? Then what will cause 3? What will cause 3?
1, 2 and 2, 1.
1, 2 and 2, 1. So here directly, evidently, there is some difference between 2 and 3, right? So if you throw a die, if you throw two dice, and the probability of getting 3 is bigger than the probability of getting 2. So if you don't know probability, you just leave it. In our colloquial terms, we speak about chances, right? So here getting the chance of getting 3 is strictly greater than chance of getting 2. So they are not equally likely. Therefore, we need to associate a weightage. Then only we can find the probability of required event. So if you associate weightage, then immediately you will get for 2 it will be. So that's why we find, first of all, we find those outcomes 1, 1, 1, 2. So we collect all possible outcomes of rolling 2 dice. So you will get like this. So totally there will be 36 outcomes. So totally there will be 36 outcomes. So probability of 2 is 1, 1. The only favorable outcome is 1, 1 out of 36 possible outcomes. Therefore, the probability of 2 is 1 by 36. Probability for 3 is 2 possible outcomes, 2 favorable outcomes, right? Therefore, the probability will be 2 by 36, 3 by 36, 4 by 36. So probability of getting 5 equal to 4/36, therefore it is 1/9. So always some of the arguments will be when we do problems on GATE examinations, CSIR examinations, always we make this error, right? So we discuss with friends, and we experienced those mistakes. We myself and many of the speakers, like Sai Ramana, Arun, Murugan, everybody, we discussed on many of the problems. So many times we made mistakes. Then only we realized them. So making error is our birthright, right? So in studying mathematics, you cannot study mathematics without making errors. So always we make errors, and important step is next step, that is we need to rectify our errors, right? So here you are free to make errors. So please speak whatever you get answer, you can speak, right? You can tell. So what is the next example? In throwing a die, all the 6 faces numbered to 1 to 6 are mutually exclusive. So also I give you one more term. Mutually exclusive means the evens are disjoint, right? Evens are disjoint, right? So that is called mutually exclusive evens. So many terms are there: exhaustive evens, mutually exclusive, equally likely. So if you refer those books, right? I mentioned earlier in the slide, right? If you refer those books, you can understand those terms. So and then very important definition of evens: independent events, right? Independent events. So when we say 2 events are independent, occurrence of one will not affect the occurrence of other. Occurrence or non-occurrence of one event will not affect the occurrence or non-occurrence of another event. And at that time, we say those 2 events are independent. For example, look at this. In tossing an unbiased coin, the event of getting the head in the first toss is independent of getting a head in the second and third and subsequent throws, right? So you toss a coin 2 times. The first time you get head or tail will not affect the second time what you are getting, right? So those the outcome of the first trial is different from, it's independent from outcome of the second trial. So that is called independent event. Similarly, here look at this. If we draw a card from a pack of well shuffled cards and replace it before drawing the second card, the result of the second card is independent of the first draw, because again we kept that first draw, right? But however, if the first card drawn is not replaced, right? If you take one card and once again you keep that card and shuffle it and take second card, now the first card will not affect the probability of second card. But suppose first card is not kept on the cards, but it is kept on it kept away, then you take second card from the remaining cards. Now the probability will be affected, right? So here it is explained. If you have doubts, you are free to stop me. So here comes the definition of probability, right? So it is basic definition or classical definition. If you have m favorable cases and n possible cases, then the probability will be m by n. Also, the probability can be defined in terms of limit also, right? So another definition of probability is also there. When an experiment is repeated infinitely, you can find the probability in with this definition also, right? And one more definition, as I promised. So here we comes the measure theoretic definition. So in measure theoretic definition, we consider a universal set and we collect algebra of subsets of algebra. You know the definition of algebra, right? Closed under finite union, closed under complement, like that. So it is a subset of power set of omega. So here we define a set function on script A. Set function on script A to real numbers. Then we call that as so that we call that set function as measure if it satisfies 2 conditions. Here I am not giving you those 2 conditions because it is beyond the scope of our talk, so I didn't give the definition, but you just look at this this book. It's a very good book on measure and probability. So if you refer this book, you can see the definition, measure theoretic definition of probability and relation between measure theory and probability and statistics, right? And when we say a measure as probability measure means the whole space should be equal to 1. The measure of the whole space should be equal to 1. If measure of capital omega is the base set. For that base set, the measure equal to 1 means it is normalized. Then we take that as a probability measure. In fact, for any set with the finite measure, we can normalize it and make it as probability measure. So Why don't you give answer for this question? What is the probability of getting one hit in a toss of 3 coins? Always keep a note with you.
1/8.
1/8. Okay. How?
Sorry, it's not
Ah,
1/8.
yeah, it's
Here,
not 1/8.
not mentioning exactly one hit.
So it is actually getting one hit means I didn't mention it. Sorry for not rigorous. Exactly one hit, right? Now what is the answer?
3/8.
Yeah, it is
Sorry.
3/8.
It is 3/8.
Yeah, it is 3/8.
Um,
It is 3/8 only.
3/8.
Yeah, okay. Because what are the possible outcomes when you toss 3 coins?
HTT,
Yeah,
H.
HTT,
TTH.
TTT. So how many outcomes will be there? 8 outcomes. So if you
8 outcomes.
toss n coins, how many outcomes will be there?
2 power n.
2 power
Yeah,
n.
it will be 2 power n. Okay, right, very good. So what is the probability of getting 4 when rolling a single die? These questions are very simple. It will help you to warm up.
1/6.
1/6. Very good. So the answer will
6.
be 1/6. So the possible outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and favorable outcome is single 4. Therefore, the probability is 1/6. Okay. So what is the chance that a leap year selected at random will contain 53 Sundays?
2/7.
2/7. How?
Because there is a 52 weeks for a year.
Very
So
good. There are 52 weeks for that leap year. Plus, how many days will be remain?
2 days remaining.
Yeah, 2 days remaining, and those 2 days can be
It's Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday, Monday.
very good. Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday, Monday, or Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Thursday, Friday, Friday, Saturday,
Friday,
right? So how many possible outcomes are there? 7 possible outcomes. Out of them, what we need to have? We need to have 53 Sundays, right? We need to have 53 Sundays. So how many outcomes?
2.
So we need to so here. So it is 2/7. Okay.
Monday.
So the probability will be 2/7. So if we have these favorable outcomes, then we certainly have one Sunday. So it will be 53 Sundays. So the probability will be 2/7. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Next question. So here, myself gave you the answer. Try to read and try to understand. A bag contains 3 red, 6 white, and 7 blue balls. And you need to find the probability that 2 balls drawn are white and blue, right? 2 balls drawn are white and blue. So first we find the total number of balls, total number of balls in the bag. So it will be 16. Out of those 16 balls, 2 balls can be drawn. So those 2 balls can be. So what are the possible choices? Red and white, white and blue,
Red and blue.
blue and red. Only 3 possible outcomes, isn't it? It is only 3 possible outcome.
No, sir. We can take 2
No.
red balls. or 2
2 red balls also. So I call this as R1, R2, R3. W1, W2, etc. W6. Blue 1, blue 2, etc. Blue 7. Right? On each ball, I have a sticker R1, R2, R3 like that. Now, what are the possible outcomes? I can take R1, W1, R1, R2. I can take R2, R1 also, right? So how many outcomes will be there actually? Is it 16 C2?
16 C2.
Why?
Confused.
Here the first.
There are 16 balls.
Okay.
From 16 balls, we only choose just 2 balls.
Okay.
We considering 2 balls drawn. At that time, we have number of ways 16 C2.
Okay, so okay, let me simplify the problem. If I have only R1, R2, and W1, right? If I want to take two balls, what are the how many ways I can take two balls?
6
3
ways we can
C2.
choose.
Okay, what will be your answer? 3.
6 ways.
3, right?
3 C2 3.
Now, what are the possible outcomes? R1, R2, R1, W1, W1, R1,
R2 W1.
R2, W1. So many outcomes are there, isn't it? Then how will you say only 3?
Sir, R1 R2, R1 W1,
Okay.
R2 W1. That's all. You
Why don't we take W1, R2 extra as our
here we didn't mention order.
yeah, actually here we assume that the balls are distinguishable, right? The balls are distinguishable. Therefore, we consider R1 and R2, R2 and R1 as a same selection, right? We just
Yes.
collect two balls, right? We just collect two balls, so that here we use 16C2. So we should be very careful when we select points, right? So here the possible ways are only selection among those 16 objects. I need to select only two objects. Therefore, the total number of possible outcomes are 16C2. So the total number of from that after that it is easy to find the answer, right? So I just want to skip it. There is no any doubt in this, I think. So after that it is very direct. You just find the possible outcomes and divide it by just find the favorable outcomes and divide it by total possible outcomes. You will get the probability. Okay. In today's talk, I want to introduce conditional probability, so that
actually balls are distinguishable means what it means, sir. Here, suppose in this problem, balls are identical means what will happen, sir?
Identical means the probability will change. So the selection will be different. So here R1, R2 and R2, R1 are same selection. We consider those as the same selection. But actually I forgot that formula, total answer will be different. So in our upcoming classes, I'll give you examples for that problems also. Distinguishable and not distinguishable also, right?
Okay.
Today, let me introduce what is conditional probability, because all the topics have the knowledge, need the prerequisite of conditional probability. Okay, first, I give you an important theorem known as total probability theorem. So if you have events like this, exclusive. So exclusive means, what is exclusive? What I told? What we mean by exclusive events?
They are disjoint.
Disjoint, right? So they are disjoint. And here, this capital A is exhaustive also, exclusive and exhaustive also. I didn't mention it. Right? The probability of happening of an event, capital A, is the sum of the probability of happening of its mutually exclusive forms, A1, A2, etc. So it is mutually exclusive and exhaustive means, then the probability of capital A will be equal to probability of A1, A2, etc. AN. So it is called a total probability theorem. That means you have some set and you find the partition of that set. Then for each set you find the probability, and if you add this the probability of each partitioned set, then you will get the probability of whole set. That is given in total probability theorem. So from that, so many interesting formulas will be deduced. So first one is this one, probability of A1 union A2 equal to this one. So can you deduce this result from this one? It's just a basic knowledge on Venn diagram, isn't it? A1, A2. So what will be this part? A1 intersection A2. So what is the probability of A1 union A2? So it is this this dotted part plus this shaded part, right? A1 union A2 is equal to this part and this part and this part. So three parts are there, right? So if you find probability of these, if you find the sum of these three probabilities, you will get the probability of A1 union 2. But if you add probability of A1 plus probability of A2, 2 times you have added this part, right? The shaded part is 2 times order. Therefore, I remove 1 time. Therefore, I am getting this formula. So not only this formula, many formulas can be obtained from this total probability theorem. So this one is also very basic formula, right? So here comes somewhat little tricky problem. So you are going to find the probability of this equation to have real roots. But here the coefficients are not given. The coefficients are actually identified by throwing a die. You are throwing a single die, and from those dice you are going to write your ABC. First time you throw your die and find a value, and second time you throw your die and that value is kept as B, and third time you throw a die and that value is kept as C, so that you get some equation. What will be the probability that the equation will have real roots? So how can we do this? So what is the condition to have real roots? What is the condition for a quadratic equation to have real roots?
B square minus 4AC greater than
B square minus 4AC. Okay.
greater
So
than
what?
equal to
Okay. So what are the possible values of ABC? Here we need to specify this ABC, isn't it? This is what we need, right? This is ABC. So what are the possible outcomes of ABC? How many
1
outcomes
to
are
6. 1
Yeah.
to 6.
It is triplet, isn't it? It is triplet. So what are the possible outcomes? ABC can be
1, 1, 1.
very good. 1, 1, 1 or 1, 1, 2. Like that you can fill up. So how many outcomes are there? How many possible outcomes are there?
216.
Yeah, 216
3 power
possible.
6.
3 power 6. Is it 3 power 6?
So 6.
6 power 3.
6 power 3.
It is 6 power 3. Okay, because 3 spaces are there. I need to fill up these 3 spaces. First space can be filled in 6 different ways. Second space can be filled in 6 different ways, and third space can be filled in 6 different ways. Therefore, it will be 2, 1,
Yes.
6. Okay. So these are the possible outcomes. Now B square minus 4AC should be greater than or equal to 0, right? B square minus 4AC should be greater than or equal to 0. Whether this one will be in our favorable outcome. Suppose I take capital E as my favorable outcome. Shall I take triple one?
No, sir.
Why? B square will be
Take, sir,
1.
because B square minus 4 is
Is
greater
1.
than or
Will
equal
be
to
less.
0.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
yes.
it be less than 0, isn't it? 4AC will be. So I should not, if I take 1, 1, 1, if I consider this outcome 1, 1, 1, then I will not get my required condition. My required condition is B square minus 4AC should be greater than or equal to 0. Therefore, I should remove this triple one in my favorable outcomes. So that in this way, I can collect all possible outcomes, all favorable outcomes, then I can find the probability. But it is time taken because totally 216 values are there, right? Totally 216 values are there. Then how can we do this? Just by basic analysis. So here, this condition, I need this condition, and totally 216 outputs are there. Look at this. I form a table like this. I need to compare these two values, 4AC and B, right? I need to compare these two values. So first I take 4AC value. How 4AC can be found? I found A and C. So A and C, if A and C are 1, so AC will be 1. So here first I find AC, then I find 4AC, then based on that 4AC, I choose B values, right? So if I choose A and C equal to 1, then AC equal to 1. So 4AC will be equal to 4. 4AC will be equal to 4. So that my B squared must be greater than or equal to 4AC. Therefore, I cannot take 1 here, but I can take 2 because 2 squared will be greater than or equal to 4. 3 squared will be greater than or equal to 4. So I can take B as 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. So how many possible ways? 5 ways, right? In 5 ways, I can, so in 5 elements, I can take. That means A and C are 1, and this space can be filled by these elements, right? So I have 5 ways. Similarly, if my AC equal to 2, my AC value is equal to 2, then in how many ways AC can occur? Either it should be 2, 1 or it should be 1, 2. There is another way, isn't it? Therefore, it has in 2 ways, 2 can be occurred as AC value. But for this AC equal to 2, 4AC will be 8. That will imply strictly B will be 3, 4, 5, 6. Therefore, for this choice of A and C, I have 4 ways, and for this choice of A and C, I have 4 ways. Therefore, totally when AC equal to 2, AC equal to 2 can occur in 8 ways. Am I right? So similarly, you can fill up some other values also. So you just take this problem as your assignment. Final answer will be 43/216. It's a worked out example in Gupta and Kabul. Can you understand what I am telling? If you have doubts, you can stop me and ask it. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Next one is conditional probability. First, let me ask you this question. Okay. What is the experiment of rolling a single die? Okay, consider the experiment of rolling a single die, and what is the probability of getting prime number? What is the probability of getting prime number?
3/6. 1/3.
Yeah, it is 3/6. What are the prime numbers? 2, 3, 5. Right? 2, 3, 5 are prime numbers. So the probability is 3/6. Suppose you don't know the outcome, but I know the outcome, right? I know the outcome of the die, and I give you some more information, right? Some more information. What is my information is the outcome is odd number, right? I give you a hint, that is the outcome is odd number. Now what will be the probability of getting prime number if you know this information?
2/6.
1/6.
1/6, 2/6. Any other
Outcome
answers?
is 3.
Outcome is
3.
okay. Outcome is 3 means what is the probability?
The
It is
outcome is
1/6
3
or
and
2/6?
It's an odd number. So நமக்கு
Okay.
கிடைக்கிற அவுட்கம் வந்து ஆட் நம்பரா இருக்கணும்னு சொன்னீங்க. அந்த ஆட்
Okay.
நம்பர் வந்து என்ன கிடைக்கும்னா 3 and 5 தான் கிடைக்கும்.
Outcome is odd number. Outcome is odd number. That's all.
அவுட்கம் இஸ் ஆட் நம்பர்னு சொல்லும்போது 1, 3, 5.
1,
மூணு
3,
அவுட்கம்
5.
கிடைக்கும் சார்.
1,
அதுலயே
3,
நமக்கு
5.
பிரைம் நம்பரா கிடைக்கணும்னு சொன்னீங்க.
Okay.
சோ அப்போ நமக்கு வந்து ரெண்டு பிரைம் நம்பர் தான் 3 and 5.
So the answer is
2/3.
2/6. 2/6.
2/3 or 2/6? 2/3. So one more answer. 2/3 or 2/6 or 1/6? What is your answer?
2/3.
1/3. 1/3. 1/3 or
1/3
2/6.
or 2/3? So this is what the tricky part of probability, right? If you understand conditional probability correctly, then you can move to any topic, because even in Markov chain, in estimate or in theory of estimation, again and again and again we are using conditional probability, right? So let me introduce one more interesting term, that is reduced sample space. Reduced sample space, because here I don't say the outcome is odd prime number, right? I say the outcome is odd number. So you reduced to sample space, right? You correctly reduced your sample space. So now you have obtained a new sample space. What is your new sample space? 1, 3, 5. Now this the old sample. What is your old sample space? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this is not your sample space. Your sample space is 1, 3, 5. Right? So this is called reduced sample space, right? For this reduced sample space, you need to find the probability of your recurred event. So what is your recurred event? We should get prime number, right? So it is given condition. It is given condition. So here we have 2 events, right? Here I split the problem into 2 events. First event is getting odd number, right? First event is getting odd number. Second event is second event is getting prime number. So which one I know? What happened already? Capital A happened already, right? The event A happened already. I know the outcome is odd number, right? Because it is given outcome. So it is given outcome means I need to reduce my sample space. Now clearly I know 2 is not possible choice, 4 is not possible choice, 6 is not possible choice. Therefore I have reduced the sample space. So I have obtained a new sample space. For this, in this new sample space, I need to find the event of prime number, event of getting prime number. So now what is your answer?
2 by 3.
Yeah, now it is 2 by 3. All of you agree with this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is called conditional probability. So here, whenever we speak about conditional probability, we speak about two events, right? We speak about two events. One event for which we need to find the probability. Another event, the given event, right? A given event, already occurred event, right? So here, I consider two events, capital A and capital B, such that probability of capital A should be greater than 0. So capital A should be a possible event, right? It should not be some impossible event, right? It should be some possible event. So probability of capital A should be greater than 0. Then I call this as conditional probability. After the occurrence of capital A, what will be the probability of capital B? This term is denoted by, so there is some difference between probability of B. So what is the probability of B in the first problem? In the first problem, what is the probability of B? Getting prime number? 3 by 6. So it is 1 by 2, isn't it? But here, what is the probability? 2 by 3 for this event. So for this B event, here the probability is 1 by 2, but here the probability is 2 by 3, right? So there is some notational difference also we need to adopt. You cannot simply write this also as probability of B. We need to mention somewhere about our capital A, because only based on the occurrence of capital A event, we have the probability of B event. Therefore, we have some new notation, that is probability of B given A. So it is not division, it is not division, it is probability of B given A. Probability of B given A means if capital A occurred, if it is given that capital A occurred, then what will be your probability? That is called conditional probability, and it is denoted by this symbol, probability of B given A. So this is called conditional probability, right? So there is some difference between ordinary probability and conditional probability. In next slide, we need to we have the relationship among them. So this is how we relate ordinary probability and conditional probability, and this important relationship is known as multiplication law of probability, or theorem of compound probability. So what is theorem of compound probability? Probability of A intersection B will be probability of A into probability of B given A, or it can be written like this: probability of B given A is equal to probability of A intersection B divided by probability of A, right? So here once again consider this example. So here A intersection B, because look at this example, I already gave you A occurred, right? Already I gave you A occurred. Now we need to find the probability for the event capital B. So already A occurred means you need to find. So here you say only possible outcomes are 3 and 5, right? You say only possible outcomes are 3 and 5. That's why you say the answer is 2 and 3. So sorry. You say the only possible outcomes are 1, 3, 5. In previous case, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here you say only possible outcomes are 1, 3, 5 because already odd number occurred. Then you find what is the prime number. So what is the prime number means in this set, you find 3 and 5 are your favorable outcomes. So you find the intersection of new sample space, right? You find the intersection of new sample space. That means what is our new sample space? That is nothing but capital A, right? Capital A, that is our new sample space. Therefore, you find the intersection of A and B. So what will be the probability, conditional probability? N of A intersection B divided by N of A. Am I right? N of A intersection B, because capital A is our new sample space, reduced sample space. Therefore, the probability is N of A intersection B by N of A. Now I can divide this fraction. I can multiply and divide it by N of S, right? I can multiply and divide it by N of S. So what is numerator now? What is numerator?
Probability of A intersection B.
So we get probability of A intersection B in the numerator and probability of A in the denominator. Therefore, we have this relation. Probability of B given A equal to probability of A intersection B equal divided by probability of A, right? So here we have this one. So next one is Bayes theorem. So Bayes theorem is a very, very important concept. Before understanding Bayes theorem, we need to see one example. So look at this example in a real life example. So always you need to study probability with examples in sampling theory, in estimation, everything. You just to go before studying definition, you just to go to worked out examples in at any book. You just to go to worked out examples, go through the examples how they have done it. Then look at the definition in a parallel manner. You see the definition as well as problems. Then only you can understand the concept. So here we start with this problem, this example. In 1989, there was some situation. There was some college, and for that college, we have 3 peoples for the election for the position of principal: Mr. Chatterjee, Mr. Iyengar, and Dr. Singh. And for the probability for them to be appointed as principal is 4:2:3. Now, after appointing, so here first event is who will become principal, right? First we have one event, that is who will become principal. I call that as capital A event, right? Who will become principal. First event. After that, still our story goes. The probability that Mr. Chatterjee, if selected, would introduce co-education in the college is 0.3. That means after coming as principal, he may or may not introduce co-education in the college, right? Now the college is men's college, right? Or it is women's college. It is not co-educated college. Right? In 1989, it was not co-education college. And after becoming principal, Iyengar or Singh or Chatterjee, anyone can become the principal with this ratio, right? With this probability, anyone can become the principal. After becoming the principal, he may or may not introduce co-education in the college. And for Chatterjee to introduce the co-education in the college is 0.3. So here another probability we are having, right? So here another probability we are having. The first probability is who will become the principal. For that even we have some probabilities, and next probability is whether they will introduce co-education or not. For Mr. Chatterjee to introduce co-education, the probability is 0.3, and for Mr. Iyengar and Dr. Singh, the probabilities are 0.5 and 0 respectively. That means Iyengar probability is 0.5, Dr. Singh probability for after Dr. Singh, after becoming the principal of the educational institute, the probability of introducing co-education is 0. Now, my question is very simple. Suppose in 1990, you came back to college. You don't know who will become the principal, right? So capital I have 2 events. First one is who will become the principal of that college. Next event is introduction of co-education, right? Introduction of co-education in our institute, right? Now, in 1989, someone among these 3 became the principal, okay? You don't know who became the principal, right? Here, you don't know the information who became the principal, right? You don't know this, right? Now, in 1990, you return to that college and you see that the college is in co-education, right? It happened, right? It happened. In 1990, it happened, okay? Now, my question is whether Dr. Singh can be the principal of the institution in 1990. Is it possible?
No, sir. No.
No, clearly it is not possible, isn't it?
Because the introducing of our co-education is probability value is given 0.
0. That means he is not interested to introduce co-education in the college. If he becomes the principal, suppose if I assume Dr. Singh become the principal, then certainly he won't allow co-education in the college. Therefore, the college will not be changed to co-education, right? But here we, by our eyes, we see the college is in co-education. Therefore, we can surely say Dr. Singh cannot be principal. Either it will be Mr. Iyengar or it will be Mr. Chatterjee, isn't it? So this is what the beauty of Bayes theorem, right? It is actually still I didn't tell you what is Bayes theorem, but here you can understand something, right? You have some data from the past and you have data from the future, but you lose some data in the middle, but you can apply those data and you can find the present data, isn't it? So this is what the beauty of this example. And here I ask you to find the probability for Dr. Singh. Suppose instead of Dr. Singh, if I ask you to find the probability for Mr. Chatterjee or Mr. Iyengar, then it will be difficult, right? You cannot easily find the probability for Chatterjee or Iyengar, isn't it? It will be difficult, isn't it? Can you agree with me? So here,
Yes,
for
sir.
Dr. If Dr. Singh, there some logical argument helped us, right? Because of some logical argument, we clearly, crystal clearly, we said Dr. Singh cannot be the principal, therefore the probability is 0. But if the college is in co-education, we cannot surely say it is done by Chatterjee or Iyengar, right? So we cannot say in which probability it occurred, right? So for which probability for Iyengar to be principal, for which probability Chatterjee to be principal, right? So in that situation, for that questions, for those kinds of questions, we need Bayes theorem, right? So Bayes theorem is applicable in very, very interesting areas in science, biological experiments, financial experiments, artificial intelligence, machine learning, lot of areas we have the applications of Bayes theorem. Bayesian statistics is also there. In the name of Bayes, we have a separate branch, separate study, Bayesian statistics also there. So here we have the answer for the next question. The next question, what is our next question? What is the probability for Dr. Iyengar to be principal? What is the probability for Chatterjee to be principal? To know the probability for those questions, we need this result. So let me once again explain this current situation. You have some event, and that event can be occurred by various events, corresponding to various events. So number of exhaustive events B1, B2, Bn, right? So it is B1, it is B2, it is B3, it is B4, it is B5, and capital A, right? So capital A can be occurred from these events, right? These events are exclusive and exhaustive, right? These events are exclusive and exhaustive. So here, after this event, I can find capital A is occurred after that, right? Capital A is occurred after that. Here it is not capital A. Capital A is this one. So capital A occurred after the occurrence of B1, B2, B3, B4, and B5, right? Now, what will be the probability of this one? Probability of A. Probability of A will be probability of A intersection B1, right? Plus probability of A intersection B2, plus etc. probability of A intersection B5. Now, how can we write this probability? Probability of A intersection B1 by this multiplication law, because we know what is probability of B, what is probability of A given B, right? What is probability of BI, what is probability of A given BI. So therefore, we can write like this. Probability of A intersection B1 can be written like this. Probability of A into probability of B given A1. Probability of A into probability of B given A2. In this way, we can write. So what will we have? So we will have summation probability of BI into probability of A given BI will be equal to this one. Probability of A. Am I right? Now, what is probability of BI intersection A? Sorry, BI given A. It is probability of BA intersection A divided by probability of A. So BA intersection A can be again written like this, and this P of A can be written like this. Therefore, we have this one. So look at this. What is the difference between left hand side and right hand side? In right hand side, we have the data of probability of A given BI, but here we have the data probability of BI given A. So it is reversed. The events are reversed, right? So here, look at this example. Here we have the probability of B given A. Initially, we know the probability of B given A1 or A2 or A3. So I divide these events into 3 events: A1, A2, A3, right? So these 3 events can occur. A1 is the event of Chatterjee becoming principal. A2, Iyengar to be principal. A3, Singh to be principal. I know what is the probability of introducing co-education if Chatterjee is elected. Therefore, I know the probability of B given A1. I know the probability of B given A2. I know the probability of B given A3. Now I know probability of A occurred, right? Sorry, probability of B. I know the probability of B. So from this, I can find probability of AI given B also, right? AI given B also. That is given in here, right? So with okay, here we have 3 peoples. That's why we can have some problems. We see some simple example. So there are 2 bags, right? There are 2 bags, first containing 1 white and 2 red balls. First containing 1 white and 2 red balls, and second one 2 white and 3 red balls. Okay, 1 ball is drawn from a bag chosen at random. I don't know which bag I'm going to choose. I will choose a bag randomly and I will take 1 ball from that. This is found to be white, right? This is found to be white. Find the probability that the ball so drawn came from the second bag, right? So choosing first bag or second bag are basic 2 events. Therefore, I take them as B1 event or B2 event. So B1 event means choosing first bag. B2 event means choosing second bag. Okay. So what is probability? So there are 2 bags. Therefore, the probability will be equal to 1 by 2. What is capital A? Capital A is next event. After the occurrence of B1 and B2, capital A is done. What is capital A? 1 ball is taken from that bag. What should be the color of that ball? It should be white. So what is the probability of white ball from the first event, first B1? What is the probability for white ball from the second bag? That's all. So it is denoted by this symbol. After the occurrence of B1. That means if the first bag is chosen and then we we take white ball, what will be your probability? So totally 3 balls are there. Therefore, it will be 1 by 3. If you choose the second ball and if you take, what is the probability for taking white ball? It will be 2 by 5. So you know what is probability of A given B1, what is A given B2, right? Now, what is my question? If the taken ball is white, what is the probability that the white ball came from the second bag, right? Came from second bag. So what is needed by me? What is needed? I need to find probability of B2 given. Can you find it? Please try. Use this theory, this formula. You need to simply find the probability of B1 . One by two. It is A given B1. It is 1 by 3. A given B2. It is 2 by 5. So you can simply find the. You need to multiply probability of B1 into probability of A given B1. Probability of B2 into probability of A given B2. It is like taking inner product of 2 vectors. So it will give you some value. That is probability of A. That is your denominator. That is your denominator. Now, if you want to reverse probability, you need to find the corresponding term and divide it by the probability of A. So find the probability of A. How can we find probability of A? Corresponding probabilities are multiplied and find the sum of them. It is capital P of A. Now I need probability of B2 given A. Therefore, it should be probability of B2 into probability of A given B2 divided by probability of capital A. So what is your answer? 6 by 11. Please verify.
6 by 11.
6 by 11. Okay,
6 by 11.
So this is how we apply Bayes theorem to solve our problems. Okay. Okay, so we have 10 more minutes, right? We do some problems, and these problems are asked in GATE examination. I share you some PDF. There you can see many problems on GATE examination on statistics and probability. You try to work with them. I too don't know the answer of many of those questions. In our lectures, we will try to find the answers. So here we have one problem. An urn contains 5 red balls, 5 black balls. In the first draw, one ball is picked at random and discarded without noticing its color. I don't know which color I discarded. So what is the probability of a red ball in the second draw? Then without the notification of color, I just deleted the ball, right? I just throw the ball, and again I take one ball from the same urn. Now the second selected ball should be red ball. What is the probability for it? And contain. How can we? So here, this is what our challenge. Some situation will be there, right? Some situation will be there. We need to fit the situation into some probabilistic event. Otherwise, some problems will be there. We need to identify the suitable distribution. It should be binomial. It can be Poisson. It can be normal. For that particular situation, we need to identify the suitable distribution, and we need to fix it, and we need to find the answer for that question. So here urn contains 5 red balls and 5 black balls. So first I take one ball. I didn't note the color. So that one ball can be, I consider that event as A, right? Or I consider that event as B1 and B2. Isn't it? Two possible outcomes are there, right? So what are those two possible outcomes? I take one ball from that. It can be
either a red ball or a black
either
ball.
Red or black, right? So I take B1 as red ball and B2 as black ball. So what is probability of B1? Probability of B1 is
5 by 10.
Yeah, it is 1 by 2. Probability of B2 is again it is 1 by 2, right? So what I need to find next event A. What is A event? Getting red ball. Getting red ball is A event. So I need to find probability of B1 into probability of B1 given A. Sorry. A given B1 plus probability of B2 into probability of A given B2. Am I right? So what is remaining? This one. What is probability of A given B1? If B1 occurred means I selected a red ball and deleted it. Now how many balls will remain? How many balls will remain? It will be 4 red balls, 5 black balls. Suppose B2 occurred. What will happen?
5 by 9.
Still it will be 9 balls, but 5 red balls, 4 black balls. So taking red ball from this bag, right? After B1, taking the probability for red ball is 1 by 2. Probability for red ball is 4 by 9, right? It is 4 by 9. And 1 by 2. Probability of B given A2 means 5 by 9. So it is 5 by 9. So this is what your answer. So what is your answer?
1 by 2. Option
1 by 2. Capital A, right? Also, there is some flow chart like this. Also, you can define 1 by 2, 1 by 2. Two events can be occurred, right? B1 and B2, and those two events will give you this probability and this probability. For red, if it is red or black, right? It should be red or black. So here the probability for taking red is 4 by 9. It is 5 by 9. So here it is again red ball is 5 by 9. Here it is 4 by 9. You need to get red ball from, it is your initial event. It is your initial event. From this initial event, you need to find this one. After the final event should be red ball. Therefore, either B1 can happen or B2 can happen. So you can go with this route or this route. Therefore, it will be 1 by 2 into 4 by 9 plus 1 by 2 into 5 by 9. So it is done by selecting the route, right? So here in this manner also you can find the answer for problems based on Bayes theorem. Okay. But initially, you always go with basic definitions. Then only you can understand the concept. Then you can go for these shortcuts like methods. So what is the probability for this one? So it is very simple. A set is given. So I collect a very simple problem. So only basic theory of probability and statistics is needed. So capital A is 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Any element you can take. Capital B is this one. Two numbers are randomly selected, one from each set. What is the probability that the sum of the two numbers equal to 16? So what is the possible outcomes actually? What is capital S? What is N of S?
20.
11, 2, like this.
20, sir.
20?
Yes,
How
20.
20?
A contains 4 elements, B contains 5 elements.
Okay.
So 4
okay.
into 5, 20.
Okay, 4 into 5, 20. So the outcomes can be 2 into 11, sorry, 2 comma 11 or 2 comma 12 or 2 comma 13 like that. So number of ordered pairs. So it is product of A cross B. S is nothing but A cross B. Am I right? S is nothing but A cross B. Therefore, the outcome is 20. Now, the sum of the value should be equal to 16. Therefore, what are the possible choices?
2 comma 14, 3 comma 13, 12 comma 4, 4 comma 12, and then 5 comma 11.
So how many choices?
4 choices. Sir.
4 choices are there. So it is 4 by 20. So the answer will be 1 by 5. So,
5.
So which one?
A.
1 by A, right? It is capital A.
Answer.
For the base problem also it is capital A. So here also it is capital A. So look at this question. It's a very interesting question. We didn't have enough knowledge to face this question now. But anyway, you can, by our common sense, we can answer it. So two independent random variables are there, capital X and capital Y, and they are uniformly distributed on the interval -1 to 1. So uniform distribution means for each point we have constant probability, right? So here, that what is meant here, capital X takes the value from -1 to 1. We have infinite points. For each point we have same probability, right? For each point we have same probability. We cannot define for each point we take 1 by number of elements. So here we cannot use number of elements, right? We cannot use number of elements. But what? So already in the beginning of the talk I told you about it. I told you that N of S is nothing but counting measure, right? So what is the analog of counting measure in continuous sets? In discrete sets we have counting measure, right? What is the analog of counting measure in continuous sets?
Length.
Length
Very good. It is length, right?
Length.
Length. Suppose it is two-dimensional space. What will be the analog?
Area.
Area.
Yeah, it will be area. So here X and Y are two variables. X take values from -1 to 1. For any value, Y can take any value from -1 to 1, right? Y can take any value from -1 to 1. For any value of X, I can take any value of Y from -1 to 1. Therefore, I have a region like this, right? So this is what the sample space, right? Here I can take any point, right? All these points have equal probability. All these points have equal probability. So this is what the sample space of X and Y. Now I need maximum of X comma Y is less than 1 by 2. So what is this one? Maximum of X comma Y is less than 1 by 2. Before that, I need to ask, what is this one? Is there any significance for this second expression? Did you note this expression anywhere? Actually, the second expression is very famous or very important. Anywhere you have come up with this expression? Mod X
so
plus mod Y.
finding area, we have seen this type of problem.
In finding area you have studied. What about these expressions? Actually, this is norms, isn't it? It is norm infinity. it is norm 1 and it is ordinary norm, right? It is Euclidean norm. Am I right? So here this term is actually related with the this is nothing but a supremum norm or infinity norm. So what now how the unit ball will be like this? If I take unit ball, the unit ball will be like this. Am I right? Maximum unit ball less than or equal to 1 means it will be like this. But here we are not considering mod x and mod y. We consider x and y. Therefore, this x can be any value, but x cannot be equal to 1 by 2, right? X should be less than 1 by 2. Therefore, x can take any value from -1 to 1 by 2. Similarly, y can take any value from -1 to 1 by 2. Therefore, what will we have? This one we will have. Am I right? So now can you say the probability? So these shaded parts are my favorable outcomes. Am I right? So the value goes from -1 to 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 2, 1 by 2. Okay, let me erase everything. Sir, may I take 5 more minutes, sir? Convener, sir.
Yes, sir, you can.
Yeah, thank you. So x can take -1 to 1 by 2, y can take -1 to 1 by 2. Therefore, our favorable region will be like this, right? Our favorable region will be like this. This is what our favorable region. So now tell me, what is the probability for this one? What is total possible? What is total? Yeah, it will be
1 by 4.
9.
Is it 1 by 4?
Yes.
9 by 16.
It is 9 by 16. Because 16 possible in 16 equal blocks, I have divided the total sample space region, and out of those 16 blocks, 9 blocks are favorable outcomes, right? Therefore, the area is 9 by 16. Sorry, the probability is 9 by 16. So here also the option is capital A.
Sir, actually the total area of the big box is 1, sir.
Total area of the big box is 1 now. No.
Yeah.
Because it is -1 to 1. Therefore, it is a square with the sides 2 units. Therefore, the big box is 4. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. 4.
Okay.
4.
4. Okay. Then what about the area of small box? The area of small box is 1 by 2 into 1 by 2. Right? So 1 by 4, I think. So it is 1 by 4 divided by 4. So it is 1 by 4. So how many 1 by 4s are there? 9 1 by 4s are there. So it is 9 by 16. So in area term also you can answer this question.
Sir,
Yes,
can you
Suman.
tell again how
So
do
once
you
again, can you repeat it, sir?
Yeah, sure. So in which place you have difficulty?
sir, in
So
the
answer is
graph?
telling 9 divided by 16.
Okay.
I didn't understand that.
How you split
The
it?
shaded part is this splitted. How I splitted means for my convenient I have
No,
splitted.
using area concept you tell.
X takes values from -1 to 1, right? X takes
Yes.
values from -1 to 1. Y takes values from -1 to 1.
Yes.
Right? If I take some value, for example, 1 by 2 and 1 by 2 I can take, or 1 by 3 and 1 by 2 I can take. Any value I can take. So there are, I can take any point from this square, right? I can take any point from this square. -1 to 1, -1 to 1. Right?
Okay.
Is it clear? So this
Clear,
is sample space. This is sample space without any condition. Now I coming to my condition. What is my condition? maximum should be less than 1 by 2. Maximum of x comma y should be less than 1 by 2. That implies x is less than 1 by 2, y is also less than 1 by 2, right?
Okay.
Any of this value cannot be greater than 1 by 2. Therefore, x is less than 1 by 2, y is less than 1 by 2. But what is the smallest possible value for x? It is minus 1. So, x can take, it is actually the first one is possible outcome, next one is favorable outcome. What is favorable outcome? X can take minus 1 to 1 by 2.
1 by 2.
Y can take minus 1 to 1 by 2. Therefore, I have this region. Only for the finding this region, I have split it into these boxes, box concepts. Simply, you can find the total area and you can find the area of this shaded part and you can divide them. Then you can find the probability. This small, you need not to split into these small boxes. It is just for convenience. You can easily find answer. That's why I have split it like this. You need not to do this. Just you find the area. Find the area of sample space. Find the area of favorable outcomes. Then divide by the area of favorable outcome by area of sample space. You will again get 9 by 16, like this one. Okay.
So
is it clear?
in this case,
Yes.
hello sir.
Yeah.
So in this case, the area becomes 9 by 4. So how you got 9 by 16?
No, it is not 9. The area will be 9 by 4 by 4. Area, this shaded part area will be 9 by 4 by 4. Look at this side. So this one, look at this one. 1.5, it is 1.5. Am I right? 1.5 into 1.5. So it is 3 by 2 square. This small box is side 3 by 2.
Yeah, 3 by 2 whole square.
3 by 2 whole square, it is 9 by 4. The whole space, the region, the area
by 1 4
divided by 4, so it will be 9 by 16.
9 by 16. Okay.
Sir, but if the x and y are not uniformly distributed, then we cannot do like this, right?
We cannot do like this. We cannot do the like this. So uniform is very important. It's a very crucial condition here. If they are distributed in some other manner, means the probability for x will be different from in this place. The probability the probability is much, means many times x this value can happen than the next value. That's why here uniformly is necessary.
So, but we know the PDF of uniform distribution is 1 divided by b minus a also, no? So we can use that concept also, no? If we use that concept, then how to proceed, sir?
At that time, you need to study about two-dimensional random variables. You need to study about joint PDF. Then you can apply them. If you apply the knowledge of joint PDF, two-dimensional random variables, then also you can obtain the same answer. So for the same question, you can obtain different answers. Sorry, in different methods, you can obtain the same answer. So in later classes, we see about that also. In next one problem is that you try to do this. In next class, I will, you asked about two-dimensional random variables, right? Also, so in next class, I will find the answer for this question in two different ways. One is this area method. So without the knowledge of two-dimensional random variable integration, everything, I can find the answer. So here also you can find the answer in the previous method. Otherwise, in next class, I will do this problem in joint PDF method also, right? And one more problem is there. I'm not going to discuss it. Just I will tell you. So second one is very easy. You can answer it. Oh, that's all. Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any doubts or suggestions? So once again, let me tell you these topics we are going to cover in our classes. CLT, WALL, order statistics, Markov chain, theory of estimation. They are all very important topics. Always questions are asked for CSIR examination from these topics. And for that, standard distribution is necessary. Only after standard distribution, we can go for those topics. And we refer these books. I send the PDF also. You please refer.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have basic question. So how to see that an event is not exhaustive by seeing some real example or something? Means we know very much related to exhaustive event, and we see some examples related to that. But how to see that not exhaustive event type of example? Means what is the
like if it is not exhaustive event, right? If it is not exhaustive event, you can reduce the sample space, one of the method, right? Otherwise you can split into some other points, or you can introduce some dummy part there to make them exhaustive, and you can work with that. But if you point out some particular question, I can say something. For exhaustive events, but actually we develop some theory, and those theory are available only based on some assumptions, right? If you withdraw those assumptions, then the theory will be different. So we cannot apply these results. If based on that situation, we need to identify some other result which is suitable for that problem. We can apply it.
Okay. Actually, I am
in further classes.
Okay. Actually, I am thinking that there might be some example for which we need for not exhaustive event, since this type of throwing dice or coin toss, these are all exhaustive event. So there might be some example for which
actually,
this is not.
If it is what your question means, then we always have exhaustive events, because we consider only those sample spaces. If something is not happened, we removed from that, right? We removed that. Only we find we work with whole sample space. Whole sample space means for every experiment. Already in the beginning class, I told you it is deterministic. We are doing with experiments, right? So we collect all the possible outcomes. So all the once you collect all the possible outcomes, there will be sample space. There will be sample space means then you can find exhaustive events. Therefore, we work with exhaustive events. So anyway, we see problems, right? And in further classes also we see some problems. If you have any, I think still I can understand your question, right? So in further classes we will see. Are there any other questions?
Sir, I think there are no.
Okay, ma'am. In case of no question, thank you all. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Saravanan sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next lecture.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.